Welcome to Bloomington Today. I'm Kaylin Cockerill. Thanks for joining us. On March 23rd, Bloomington Civic Plaza was the site of the 2011 State of the City presentation. This year's theme was Bloomington Connected, which illustrated how the city is using new and improved technology to enhance services to residents.
Over the years, people formed communities to interface with each other and take advantage of opportunities for employment, cultural and social interactions, and education that didn't exist on the farms and in the rural areas. Now, people are able to connect with friends and family and businesses in new ways, and most of the time it's using technology that is changing ever so fast. There are opportunities created by sites like Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. And today, we will present to you these and other technological advances that allow us to provide enhanced services to make an even better connection with the community.
City Manager Mark Bernardson also provided updates on Bloomington's development and infrastructure, community building and renewal efforts, along with some highlights of the city's finances.
Successful communities never let themselves stagnate, but continue to build and renew and look for new opportunities along the way. Among our strategic objectives is to actively enhance our city's sense of community, which is what makes Bloomington such a great city. Honoring our past, focusing on the present, and looking toward an ever brighter future, we continue to improve and enhance the connections so vital to our community.
More than 150 people, including Bloomington Chamber of Commerce members, Rotary Club affiliates, and residents, attended the event. We'll be airing the event in its entirety on the Bloomington Channel 14. It'll also be available for viewing on the city's website. Well, areas of spring flooding have now begun to impact parts of Bloomington. According to city civil engineers, Lower Lyndale is currently flooded by the Minnesota River and is now closed. These photos were taken on March 28th. Crews have blocked the road about 1/2 mile from where these photos were taken, leaving plenty of room for more rising water as the river continues to expand. 9 Mile Creek is within its banks upstream of 98th Street and right at bank full between 98th and 102nd Street. City officials expect the creek to peak the week of March 28th, and it is expected to not affect any structures. Maintenance crews have been monitoring the creek crossings, and it appears that the ice within the channels has melted, reducing the chance of ice dam blockage. Barthel's Pond, Oxborough Lake, and Lower Penn Lake are all functioning near normal water levels. And in related news, Highway 101 and 41 in Shakopee were forced to close over the weekend of March 25th due to flooding. The 169 I-494 interchange project has made some changes to its construction schedule to accommodate the increase in traffic as vehicles are detoured onto the interchange. Highway 169 between Scott County Road 18 and Pioneer Trail will be restriped to add lanes, and traffic signals at Highway 169 and Highwood Drive, as well as I-494 and 169, will become a continuous green light for vehicles along 169. And the entrance ramp from Old Shakopee Road to northbound 169 is also closed. MnDOT asks residents to keep in mind that these changes are not part of the 169 I-494 reconstruction, simply assistance to motorists trying to get around flood-affected areas. Well, if you are one of the many people who live in multi-housing properties around the city, listen up. Bloomington Police Force want to help make sure you're protected. The Bloomington Crime-Free Multi-Housing Program is offering classes to provide a safer living environment for rental property owners, managers, and tenants. Many multi-dwelling housing communities, like the 213-unit Tealwood apartment complex in Bloomington, are taking a stand against crime. but we want more. Property manager Jessica Simonette took over the complex 2 years ago when it was considered a distressed community, meaning it was the subject of a high volume of police responses. She decided it needed some major updates, not in amenities, but in safety. Simonette contacted the Bloomington Police Department and signed up to become a part of the city's crime-free multi-housing program with several goals in mind.
To get my residents to be as proactive as I am about enforcing the rules. Noise rules, curfew rules, people wandering around the parking lot, people sitting in cars for too long. Just making them be aware of things that I'm not here 24 hours. I can't babysit this property all the time, and it is their job just as much as mine to make sure that we all have a great place to live.
The crime-free multi-housing program has 3 phases of safety completion, all designed to keep properties from becoming the target of illegal activity. Tealwood managers became involved with the program a few years ago, and city police officials have been offering helpful updates ever since.
We upscaled our lighting outside as well, just to make sure all the lights on the buildings were working properly and that all of our parking lot lights were working properly. Entrance lights, door security. We changed out all the locks on all of the buildings when I got here. Once all the bad people were weaned out, we changed all the locks, just to kind of get everybody who has a leaseholder and who has done the proper procedures, a key. And if you haven't, you don't get a key to my buildings. And then putting building numbers on all the doors. Our entrance doors did not have numbers. It was just in one area of the building. And when the officers would come here, that was the biggest complaint I was getting. I don't know what building I'm going to because I can't always see that number, so they had to drive around a lot. And so to make their life a little easier, we did that for them.
In addition to suggesting physical things around the property that could be made more safety efficient upon course completion, property managers are now contacted by police if there are any non-medical police responses made to the property, so managers can take action if they have a problem tenant. Another benefit, Jessica explains, is the open-door communication now between her company and the local government, giving managers the comfort to simply
speak freely with the police department and just ask them any questions you might have, and they feel comfortable, I guess, in giving you those answers as well. So it's building a relationship, a family, I guess you could say.
60% of Bloomington rental communities have already joined the program. If you'd like to get involved, contact the Bloomington Police Department at 952-563-4900. Well, it's time now for a short break. When we return, we'll revisit our pet project here on Bloomington Today, where we'll be joined by Animal Control Officer Bill Forbes. Stay with us.
Movement. Along with weight loss, it's one of the many ways to fight osteoarthritis pain. For more information on managing pain, go to fightarthritispain.org.
I knew it wasn't going to be easy. Some things take a while to come back.
3, 2, champions!
But I've got some good buddies. I guess they're helping me figure it out. Being used to doing something with a cigarette makes it hard to do it without one. But if I can relearn to hang out with my friends without cigarettes, then I can relearn anything without cigarettes.
Relearn life without cigarettes. Free at becomeanx.org. A new way to think about quitting.
Welcome back to Bloomington Today. We're now joined by Animal Control Officer Bill Forbes. Hi, Bill. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Well, thanks for being here again with us today.
Glad to be here.
You know, as the snow begins to melt, that kind of arises many new issues when it comes to pet owners. They're getting outside with their animals. What are a couple of the big health things that we want pet owners to start becoming aware of as spring comes?
Well, it's a good idea to recognize with the coming of spring, the bugs are going to be out, and we're talking transmission of fleas and ticks, especially ticks. And it's a good time to check with your vet and make sure that your pets are up to date on flea and tick issues, as well as Lyme disease, vaccinations, and so forth. There are a number of things.
Okay, absolutely. Now, along with the melting snow, as happy as we are to see that season end and spring begin, there becomes an issue with something that the pet leaves that can get really messy around this time of year. Talk about Bloomington's stance on pet cleanup issues.
Yeah, it's every year, this time of the year, we start getting large numbers of calls from people complaining about their neighbors, either because the neighbor's yard hasn't been picked up all winter, and all of a sudden the snow's gone, there are big piles, and the first warm day it doesn't smell good, and it looks yucky. And we end up having to go out and inspect, and if it's in violation, we'll give people an order to clean up. If it's somebody that we do this with every year, they may not get a warning, they may be cited.
Okay.
The ordinance is that on your own property, you have to maintain conditions that are consistent with sanitation and prevention of odors. And it's kind of common sense. The easiest thing to do is go out with your dog and pick up right then. Not everybody wants to do that.
But the rules in public areas, now owners can kind of at their own discretion, what you're saying, pick and choose when they pick up the backyard or front yard. But in the public, Bloomington has a different ordinance attached to that. Talk a little bit about that.
That's right, and that's true in most communities in larger metro areas. And it's what frequently gets referred to as the pooper scooper law, which basically says if you're walking your animal and it poops, you got to pick it up right then. I've had people tell me, well, I was just going to go home and get a bag, and no, you should have a bag with you.
Absolutely.
Or two, just in case. It's not that hard to do. In fact, I get a thing at the pet store that's got a little, one's a bone and one's a fire hydrant, depending on the leash. Fasten it right onto the leash, and it's got a little roll of biodegradable bags that can be refilled. It's cheap, and it's very handy.
Absolutely. Well, great. Well, those are then people getting into the dog parks. That's one thing that Bloomington has to offer. Let's do a little refresher on some of the dog park rules and regulations that may be overlooked.
Well, and the first one would be picking up after your dog. That applies there just as it would anywhere else. And it can be a real problem if people are not watching their dogs. People who go to the dog park are expected to be in control of their dogs, which means within sight of them, watching what they're doing. And a lot of times you'll see people sitting around in their lawn chairs having a nice conversation while the dogs do goodness knows what. It's kind of hard to pick up after him if you don't know that he did anything. And he could be getting into any kind of trouble or disappearing through the open gate that somebody left.
It's very possible.
People are required to have no more than 2 dogs per handler in the park, and you must have a leash in hand at all times for each dog. Also, the dog park doesn't extend to the parking lot, which means that when you get out of the car, you got to have the dog on the leash, walk it in, and there's a double gated area where you put the dog on and off leash as you're coming and going. And there are good reasons for that. We've had any number of incidents in the parking lot where a leash dog has another unleashed dog come running over to it, and pretty soon there's a fight. Oftentimes it's the dog that's on the leash that's quote unquote starts it, because a leash dog tends to feel a little bit more vulnerable because there's the no fight or flight. There's fight, but there's no flight. He knows that, and it can make a dog a little nervous about that, which is another reason also when you're in the park, we prefer not to see leash dogs because that can precipitate issues.
Okay. Well, great. Well, above and beyond dogs, you know, in Bloomington, we're fortunate to have lots of wooded area, lots of natural habitats. Over this past weekend, someone found a wild animal in their front yard. And why don't you tell us a little bit about what that person found and what residents should do if they do come across a wild animal that is in distress?
First of all, with wildlife, always remember it's wildlife. And it's called that for a reason. They're not, they may look cute and cuddly, and it may be a small animal, for instance, a squirrel. A squirrel, remember, is a rodent and has some really big front teeth, and they eat acorns with those, and they can really take a piece out of you. Just a nice hole. I've seen it happen too many times. There's not a rabies issue with squirrels, but we don't want people being injured, especially children. So it's one of those things where it's almost best to call us, or if it's something where maybe the homeowner feels more comfortable with calling the wildlife rehab center or something like that and getting advice, we're all for that also.
Absolutely.
If we find an animal that's either orphaned or injured or sick, we will take care of them and either get them to the rehab center or put to sleep if necessary, put them out of their misery if it's something that's beyond reasonable cure.
What did this homeowner find in particular?
This homeowner found a fox kit, a little itty-bitty one. Officer Young, my partner, was out there for that one, and it was just a little bitty thing. And nobody really knew what to do, and the wildlife rehab people came out and picked it up from us at the shelter and took it for rehab. A lot of times, orphan animals may not actually be orphaned. We'll get into that more as the spring progresses. Baby bunnies in particular, people will find baby bunnies in the grass all hunkered down, and the mother frequently will leave them during the day and figure that that's the best way not to draw attention to them. And what we tell people is make a little kind of teepee tripod thing out of twigs over that, and if by the next day that hasn't been knocked over, chances are that they may be orphaned. Maybe mom got hit by a car or something, but most likely it's going to be tipped over, meaning the mom's been there.
Or is standing or is hanging out somewhere at a distance watching, and you guys people wouldn't know.
We'll also see that with fawns, deer.
Okay.
The fawns will be stuffed under some hostas or something like that, and no sign of mom, and people worry that the fawn is abandoned, and almost never is. The best thing to do is just leave it and see how things go.
Okay.
When in doubt, call us.
Absolutely. Well, usually in the pet project segment that you join us for, we would have a pet that is looking for a home. Today we do not, but when you guys do have pets, where can residents find out what you guys have and how to go about an adoption process?
Well, for those with internet access, the city's website, if you go to animal control, which I think is under law enforcement, or the police department, we have a page with a listing of adoptable animals looking for homes. It varies wildly. Frequently we have cats. Not so frequently we will have dogs. But you can get a good animal from our shelter. We've been very fortunate in the last few weeks that we haven't had too many animals coming in, and pretty much everything that's come in has gone home.
Yeah, and see, that's a good thing that we don't have an animal to be adopted right now. It is a good thing, but for the people that want to, it's the simplest thing is to visit the website. And we're looking for forever homes for these animals, right?
Exactly. It's a commitment. A dog, depending on its size, can live to be anything from 10 or 12 years old to 20 years or more. Cats live to be 20 years old. And most of the animals that we're adopting are younger ones. So you're making a long-term commitment, and we don't like people to do it as an impulse of, oh, isn't he cute? Or I don't want to feel guilty because I turned this animal in, and I'll take it because I don't want to feel guilty about it. let us worry about finding the homes. We want to find people who really need to have a pet.
Absolutely. Well, again, we'd like to thank Animal Control Officer Bill Forbes for being here today with us for the Pet Project. It's now time for a short break. We'll be right back.
Lead paint poisoning affects over 1 million children today. If your home was built before 1978, your kids could be at risk. Log on to leadfreekids.org or call 800-424-LEAD.
So my uncle calls and he says he's dizzy and he's losing his balance. I'm like, Unc, you want me to take you to a doctor? He's like, no, I'm going to look up the symptoms. I said, your symptoms are you're dizzy and you're losing your balance. So he said, I can't get on the internet because my arm is numb. I said, well, use your good arm and dial 911. Stroke's no joke. If you or someone you love is showing symptoms of stroke, don't wait because it might be too late. Dial 911. Time lost is brain lost.
Welcome back, everyone. Do you have important documents you need to get rid of? Don't throw them in the trash. Instead, come to the community paper shredding event on Saturday, April 16th from 9 a.m. to noon. The city has teamed up with the Bloomington Rotary Club to host the shredding event, and residents are encouraged to collect things like bank statements, tax documents, canceled checks, and legal papers. Those should all be destroyed rather than just thrown out. Shredding items like this will help protect from identity theft. The cost is just $5 per average size box. All proceeds will go to the Bloomington Noon Rotary, which in turn supports nonprofit organizations, programs, and charities around the city. If you have questions about the community shredding event or would like more information, visit the city's website. Well, on March 19th, the Taste of Japan fundraiser kicked off, including a night of authentic Japanese cuisine, cultural entertainment, and hundreds of silent auction and raffle items. Bloomington Human Services Division would like to thank all the people who attended and supported the event. There was a sellout crowd at the Bloomington Hilton, guests totaling more than 160 people. Bloomington's sister city organization would like to address some concerns, however, that have surfaced in light of the recent devastating earthquake and tsunami in Japan. While much of the country is attempting to find normalcy after the tragedy, officials from Bloomington's sister city in Izumi have assured that all is well there.
Everybody's worried about what's going on in Japan, and we all do. However, since we have a special relationship with Izumi City, but they're just having totally normal life, and then they're putting a lot of time and effort to help those people, and they're just, go to work, to school, and it's just nothing that, significant damage that they're having. So I think it's just good to hope and then pray and to heal.
City officials are saying as of right now, the student trip to Izumi set for June 15th is still planned as scheduled. If you would like more information on disaster relief efforts or if you'd like to make a donation, visit the American Red Cross's website at www.americanredcross.org. Just to remind residents, Bloomington's annual citywide curbside cleanup is right around the corner. That means it's time to take a look in your garage, basement, or attic and get rid of any items your regular trash service wouldn't normally take. Saturday, April 9th will debut this year's citywide curbside cleanup, collecting materials from the western boundary of Bloomington to Normandale Boulevard. The following week, the cleanup crew will spend Saturday, April 16th, collecting items from Normandale Boulevard to France Avenue. City officials ask that residents set materials out at the curb around 7 a.m. on your pickup day. To find out when crews are picking up from your area, as well as a full list of what items are accepted, visit the city's website and keyword search curbside cleanup. Well, that's all the time we have for today. To get more information on city projects, parks, road construction, and events, visit the city's website. To check out past Bloomington Today shows or other city productions, visit Bloomington's YouTube channel, accessible right from the city's homepage. That and so much more is online right now at www.ci.bloomington.mn.us. We'll do you even one better. Sign up for eSubscribe to have updates sent right to your email or cell phone. This is Bloomington Today, a presentation of the City of Bloomington's Communications Division. I'm Kaylin Cockerill. Thanks so much for joining us.